All right, 6:30, so we'll call this meeting to order.
They can still.
Start with the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we'll start with the department heads. You want to start, John?
Alright, a little cheat sheet. So, we'll talk about our numbers. Since the last meeting, we've had 612 calls for service, 8 motor vehicle crashes, 239 motor vehicle stops, and 16 arrests. The same period last year, calls for service of 432, 6 crashes, 132 stops, and 10 arrests. So, as has been happening throughout, we will continue to increase our numbers. Year-to-date calls for service are 5,454, 2,201 of those being traffic stops, 100 arrests, 86 crashes. Year-to-date for 2023 at this time was 4,089 calls for service, 1,378 traffic stops, 63 arrests, and 101 crashes. So, as I say every time, the numbers continue to increase on us. The only thing is we are gearing up on the 25th, which I think is Friday night. We'll be at the fairgrounds for trunk or treat. And we'll be out there for that.
Any questions for him? Rusty?
Okay, start with this tonight, but I'd start out the same with the firearm, which is good. So, appreciate that, like, person say thanks for letting us.
Yeah, are you done close to it?
We have 3 more pieces of bridge you have to put up. If you take it, I can do it at a later time.
No, no, but,
That's all that's left.
okay,
And it can take us long demo, especially.
okay.
We've already so hoping we can hold off on another. We have 4 areas.
Space.
So, we do it by time of January, we get that, we do it by time. So at this point, it doesn't matter what we collect more is actually. Everything else is going pretty well down there. I want to give you guys an update on our loader. I think we're at a point where we have some things we probably need to talk about and see kind of where we go. So I just kind of read through what I have, and if you have any questions, there's a lot there. After collaborating with the spring, we submitted our year Granite ES for the loader. ES notified us mid-late summer that we were short on operational hours on our trade unit. We knew this going in and had requested a waiver from ES. We needed 500 annually, and we were under that. ES thought we were awarded the applications, and we agreed to write a waiver to the EPA along with the application that ES approved. We had a pretty good feel when we did that after, right? Just because ES, thought it was pretty good for us. EPA, after review, did not accept the ES waiver and have come back saying if we forfeit the Volvo loader as well, then we can apply with the time use aspect and then move forward on the grant application. So you understand that they wanted 500 hours of usage annually, and we were like 390. So we were short on hours, but they thought if we wrote the waiver, which the state gladly did for us, that we passed. So Volvo had originally given us 20 Ks of trade, so this leaves us with a $20,000 deficit in our plan. I took our existing Volvo recently up to get an estimate of repairs, we could hold them off on not wanting to put money in if we were going to trade, obviously. The estimate of needed repairs is $21,223.97. This does not include 2 parts that are currently obsolete, and there's no labor included for those either because it's labor. Those parts would have to be repaired or sourced as good used parts that attempt to make repairs. Freight and tax were also not included for those parts since they were manufactured. With those things included, we believe that the estimated cost would probably be between $20,000 and $30,000 for the existing repairs, which includes new foam fill tires. They're original and 22 years old at all. I'm requesting the select board allocate $20,000 to cover the trade-in value of the Volvo loader in the original plan. This allows us to move forward with the gear grant for the 20 out of transfer station. Capital reserve fund is better spent on new piece of equipment with warranty and longevity rather than spending 20 to 30 out of the transfer capital reserve fund on a 20-plus-year-old loader that's already experiencing replacement part obsolescence and their future repairs. With that said, are there questions?
So what year is this vehicle?
My best estimate is it's about 22 years old. We bought it, we used it at New York State, I think it was about a year old when we got it.
And it needs 22,000 in repairs, plus labor, plus freight, plus tax.
So 22 is basically for the parts that Volvo can get. It is, we have these two injectors are cracked, and those need to be replaced. We replaced one last year, and it needs tires. So the price on those are basically, it has a radiator that is deteriorated on the bottom, has leaked, patched and kind of moved along, but it continues to play this, and it has this large kind of oil filter housing, I would describe it as underneath that's cracked. That leaks, and we've had that over the town rush, look at it, they agree, you can't repair it, it needs to be replaced. That part's obsolete. So we have to find a good use for somewhere, so we're not constantly dealing with it. And those freight and labor costs, we don't have an estimate, we don't know where we get them from. What's the freight have to pay? So I said, I always said, what's an honest idea knowing what these parts markets are and say stuff to get repaired? It's probably.
All right. I don't believe in putting money in that age of a machine to begin with.
For me, with the parts obsolescence that we're already dealing with, that's just going to get worse. And I have no reason to believe there won't be other. We did put $5,000 into it last year.
You put 5 in it last year?
The wet brake system basically failed and locked up. We had that fixed, and we did have an injector to be repaired. So it's getting to the point where it's causing some problems.
What's the balance of your capital reserve account?
I guess somewhere around 202.
And we're 20 grand short of buying the new.
Because of using it as
As a-
basically
Because we have to use it. Yeah.
for the hour issue with EPA.
Because we couldn't get to the 500 hours.
I was actually surprised they didn't just reject it outright. They came back and said, well,
Yeah.
this is still in play, but since you're short on hours, and you did explain that you have another piece of equipment, if you do 2 for 1 deal with us, and the issue for me is out of my math, it would be 1 behind call.
And this piece of equipment is not working right now?
It is, it has some challenges, but we deal with it daily.
So, have you been back to the dealer to see if there's any wiggle room?
We went back to Volvo themselves, and Volvo was not willing. And I think that came down to, when they give you government price, I think the original price on the loader was like $220. And I think the government price increased it down to like $139. So I think they felt it was deeply discounted
Yeah.
already, and that's where they're kind of at. We did go to the dealer, but we have not heard back from them.
They're not living back.
And they didn't know I was coming to.
The balance of the capital reserve fund at the transfer station in last year's town report was $233,964.
233, thanks. Can we split the difference?
Well, that's what I was just pondering in my head. If we authorize an extra 10,000 towards this, we're gonna spend 20,000 plus, or up to 28,000 to fix it, and that's throwing money into an old machine
Yeah.
that I'm really not in favor of. It looks like it might be cheaper. If we split it, and you go back to the dealer.
I certainly can, because it's an open-ended question right now. I approached Mike and Deb about it, and I talked to their marketing group.
You know, that might work. What do you think, Leon?
Well, it puts us kind of in a pickle because we're expending from a capital reserve,
Right.
which we usually don't do without a
Right.
vote of the townspeople. And I was just wondering how this one was set up, if it was the selectmen were agents to expend from this
You
one.
are.
We are.
We are.
Because didn't we
Okay.
just
We
change
did.
that? Because that was for the landfill originally, and we brought it,
So this changed from a landfill closure account to capital reserve account in 2016, I want to say.
is that when it was?
And then last year was changed it to cover not only buildings but equipment also.
Okay.
So compactors, loaders,
Because I know we had a couple that had to go to town.
Had to go to town.
Yep. We might have got them all converted now.
So if we authorize 10, in hopes that
And that they'll go back.
that
he can get
that you'll go
then.
back to the dealer and maybe they would
Meet us
meet
halfway.
us halfway.
Yeah, I mean, it's an option, it's an opportunity, and then I'll just have to go back and see what, I talked to him today, but he hasn't answered once.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
You want to try that?
might as
Yep.
well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we need to make a
You're
motion?
gonna need a motion, yeah.
I make a motion that we, how do you do that? Add $10,000 to the loader purchase?
Expend
the-
$10,000 out of the
Capital
transfer
reserve.
station capital reserve account for the
Purpose.
possibility
Of,
of,
of buying this loader.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's still constantly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it might not be a done deal, but
Right.
to try to make this deal work.
Yeah.
All right, I'll second that.
All
So
right,
I've got a motion and a second to expend $10,000 from the transfer station reserve fund to purchase the new loader, or hopefully purchase the new loader.
Right.
Is there any further discussion on the board? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. okay,
Good luck.
Anything else?
yeah,
I'll be back.
Yeah,
it's up to you now.
thank you.
So you're all set on that now?
Yep.
Randy?
Figures for so far this year, last month was 166 total, 55 911 calls, 111 transfers, compared to last year in September, which was 196, 117 transfers, 79 911 calls. So that's a little down. For the month, for the year, this year we're at 1,701, which consists of 609 calls, 1,101 transfers, compared to last year for the year in September it was 580 911 calls and 1,087 transfers.
10%
for a
increase.
total of 1,667. Mileages, A3, which is our 911 truck, has 11,256 miles, which over between September and now, 776 miles. A4, which is a van, has 33,964 miles on it. We put on 12,784 miles a month. A5, which is one of our oldest trucks, has 218,000 miles on it. 218,554. Compared to over a month's time, we did 1,055 miles on that one. A7, which is a van, that's our oldest van. We have 215,812 miles on that, and we went 7,423 miles. Our other truck, which has been gone for 3 weeks, is repaired. It's coming back tomorrow. They're gonna pick up the other new one and go through that one and fix all those leaks and whatever was wrong with it.
Okay.
But I don't know
All right.
as of today. The good news was, we got news on our box truck that we had ordered 2 years ago. That's gonna come in at the price that we budgeted for,
Okay.
which I thought was good news. And that should be in January. Our furnace was fixed today at the fire station, which I thought we'd need a bunch of new parts for, but he ended up making it all work with no extra parts. Fuel tank at the ambulance bay will be repaired sometime this month. We're waiting for the tank to get lower, so it takes less labor to drain it.
Yep.
So, and I think that's about it. Both furnaces have been cleaned.
Ready for what?
All right. Questions?
Nope. Thanks, Chief.
Move to Robin. Do you have?
Well, mostly I've been playing catch up, because I haven't been in the office, but, the planning board denied an application for a ground floor, residential unit in the commercial district, or the central business district. So it's just that block between Bunker Hill and Middle Street. So I'll be sending out that denial, and, that sets the precedent. It's consistent with the form-based code, and so there may be some discussion about that from people once that finally gets out in the public. Zoning didn't have a meeting. Safety, I did have or was going to ask for a safety meeting after the November 7th department head meeting, but I am going to use that time slot to go over the public facilities chapter of the master plan, because I'll have all of the department heads there. Fidium, I don't know if I talked to you about Fidium Fiber, but the broadband was, the last grant was awarded to Consolidated. So Lancaster is going to have the build out, and they're out there now, because people have been coming into my office asking what they're working on. They plan to have Lancaster completely hooked up by the end of Q1 of next year. So that's, if anyone has any questions on whether they're on the build out, they can go to Fidium Fiber website and type in their address and we'll let them know. The CID data, the software needs to be front loaded. So what I'm thinking about doing is all of the off Wednesdays, so the department heads, so the ones that are in between, is to take a department each week and go over their assets so that we can get that rolling. The road surface management survey has been going on by North Country Council. They've been going through all the town roads. They're basically measuring them, doing an assessment of condition, and marking all the culverts. Purpose of that report is to create prioritization of fixing it so that I can incorporate that into the CIP. Tomorrow, I have a full day with Underwood to go over the GIS program, because they upgraded it, which will help the water and sewer and highway guys to use their GIS through their cell phones. And we're getting into the zoning amendment kind of public hearing, but I also want to, so with that, I want to take the zoning ordinance. Now, we've already incorporated the amendments that were passed in the spring. There may be other changes in the zoning ordinance that we should also do at the same time. So I'm going to I'm planning on having a zoning meeting in November, and then the public hearings will start in January. But it's just little things like allowing digital submission. We don't have that in the regs, it should be. There's also public informational sessions that Fidium Fiber was supposed to contact us to send a speaker so that people could come in and ask the questions about the fiber. And also I consulted with the Conservation Commission about getting a speaker to come and speak about the conservation subdivision, because that was one of the things that we had required more public input, outreach. I could use Steve Whitman from Resilience again, but I was kind of thinking that since he wrote it, I would like to have somebody who's not him come in and explain what a conservation subdivision impact would be on the regulations. So I've got a request into the Office of Planning and Development to see if we can get a speaker. That's where I'm at.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thanks, Ron.
All right, library.
Not a lot. Programs are going well at this point. The trustees have the budget pretty much in hand. We have pretty much a level budget at this point, except for health insurance, and we're waiting on that. Otherwise, our figures are going to be about the same. The trustees will be signing a contract with Northern Basements in Vermont, and they will be installing a drain system in the children's library on the north side, the section with the window, which will allow any water that comes in to be drained automatically out. And that also includes a dehumidifier, which will take care of any other problems down there. We're hoping we'll be putting in a warrant article. Will probably be $7 to $8 million to complete that. We've already made down payment on the money that we have. So that's in place. We're about to start the electrical upgrade and lighting upstairs finally. The downstairs was done a couple of years ago. I'm hoping in the next month or so that will be in place, and that should make a difference in our electrical costs. We made it through the oil tank fiasco, which probably you heard about. The first inspectors told us that our tanks were going to break apart and that no way would they put any oil in our tanks. After reviewing the situation with two local people, two local companies, and another Irving inspector, it was determined that there was actually nothing wrong with the oil tanks, and we're good to go. So that's been taken care of. Other than that, I think things are going pretty well today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, thank you.
Any questions? All right. Department heads are free to go if they so desire. And we have one appointment, Sam Main, to address the board.
Yeah, so, all right, if I can stay sitting. So, as requested at the last meeting, I will be presenting about the ongoing project at Lancaster Elementary School, kind of covering what's been done, what we hope to do, and some of the costs that we've had to do. So I want to start by reminding you, as I said last time, there's things that we have funded. There's kind of our big vision for what we could do, and then there's the in-between of things that we think we'll be able to, but maybe don't have grant funds in place yet. And so I'm going to go through kind of item by item of type of work, say what we did, what we've done, what we hope to do, how much it's cost, and who did the work. And then, I'll do that for each item. And I'll just say across the board, when I was getting contractors to do this work, I went out and I asked every contractor that services our area for these pretty specialized work for an estimate, and chose based on what I got. So diving in, this spring we planted 1,300 trees, give or take, along the riparian areas, the stream banks. That covered about 3 acres. We hope to do about 2,200 more for another 5 acres of planting total. So that's eight total eventually. Don't have grant funds in place for that yet. Although one of our unofficial partners, Connecticut River Conservancy, has mentioned to me that they may be able to just directly hire someone to do a lot of that planting. So our cost for that 1,300 stems planted was about $18,000, and that was from Red Star Inc. Down in Corinth, Vermont. They brought a crew up to do the planting. Invasives removal. So we have done removed about 100 mature honeysuckle plants, and that's over about a 10-acre area, and treated 4 knotweed patches that were about 550 square feet, give or take. So that is all of the invasive species that we plan to treat on the area. We do expect to have to do some retreatment of both of those things. And we've budgeted for that in some of our grant applications, and we do still have some funding left. We spent $3,000 approximately on both of those things this fall with North Country Invasives, and that was paid for by the Red Star was also paid for by the Moose Plate grant. This North Country Invasives also paid by the Moose Plate grant. The previous fall, Connecticut River Conservancy and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service had hired a different contractor to do some honeysuckle removal, just hand removal without oversight. And I don't know the exact numbers on that, but it was roughly a few thousand of additional work that they just hired their contractor here. And so I just want to be really clear, like there's no written agreement between the town and Fish and Wildlife Service or Connecticut River Conservancy. We just both value the project and are, I have a good relationship with the people who do the restoration work in both of those organizations, and so we kind of talk sometimes, and when they have a grant that's available, they'll say, hey, we just go do some planting, or, not planting, but some invasive treatment or whatever. And so that was Ames Ecologics, who's based out of Vermont, that did the last fall's honeysuckle removal. We have also gotten a 30% design. This was the only item that's been paid for out of taxpayer funds. That's from our 2022 LCC budget. It was encumbered for work done in 2023, and that was Wind and Water LLC. He did the 30% design, which is just basic conceptual design, and he also did wetland delineation as part of that. We kind of gotten it to about 60% design. Since then, there have been a few revisions that we've done, and a lot of these were kind of in response to funders, both the ARM fund and to a lesser extent the mitigation enhancement fund. We're looking for ways to make the project cheaper, and again, we were working with Wind and Water as kind of an extension of our original contract with them to do some revisions, and we're basically at a 60% design. That was about an extra $1,000, plus Connecticut River Conservancy, I believe, pay him directly for some of that work. We are hoping to get 100% design for the wetland restoration, and basically assistance with permit applications from, and so I've requested him that he submit another scope of work that will get approval from town manager before moving forward with. Oh, and I should say that that $1,000 for the 60% paid for by Moose Plate. And we have additional money in the Moose Plate and the mitigation enhancement fund for additional design work. So the wetland restoration itself, haven't done anything on the ground, we're still doing the design. The goal is kind of to do some woody structures to create topography and kind of restore what a natural floodplain would look like with down logs and things like that. Obviously, we want to secure them in place very well so that they stay there as the restoration kind of solidifies. And then, as well as that, some plantings of trees, shrubs, and herbaceous native plants. We don't really know what the cost is. It's going to depend on that 100% design. It has gone anywhere from, a few $100,000 to about $100,000 in the different revisions that we've done, trying to make the project match the money that we think we can get for it. And so all of that, implementation of that wetland restoration, that would be a different grant that we have not applied for. And then, I guess the final item is we've done some education programming along with some of this restoration, and that was just, I went out and I gave a presentation to some 6th and 7th graders and had them help us plant some trees. So that was just, well, the trees came from that other contract with Red Start for the planting, but yeah, but in terms of who was doing that, it was just me going out and doing it as a volunteer. Funds secured to do work, just as an overview. Moose Plate, $30,000. Of that, we've spent about $22,000. And the mitigation enhancement grant, $26,320. We have not spent any of those funds yet. We are at the stage at which we could invoice, I believe, I need to go check the numbers exactly, but I'm pretty sure we're at the stage that we could invoice the state for some of the reimbursable funds that we've spent so far on the grant. That's the tree planting. Yeah, that is what I got. I'm happy to answer any other questions.
I'd just like to, in speaking with Sam, thank you so much, Mr. Main, for spending time speaking with me on the phone and getting all of these things in order. For the select board, just for your understanding, there have been 2 grants which the town has signed for. One is the New Hampshire Moose Plate Grant, which was granted in November of 23. It was accepted by the select board on May 20th of 24, and Ben was the signatory. The amount accepted was $30,000, and like he said, there's roughly $22,000 available that has been expended from the grant. There are 3 different tasks to complete with this grant, so which once these tasks are completed, we can then apply for reimbursement through the state. The second fund is the Upper Connecticut River MEF. That was awarded in April 9th, 24. It was accepted by the select board on May 20th of 24, and there was no signatory motion during that time. The amount accepted in the minutes was $22,320. However, the amount that was awarded was $26,320. This specific award allows us 1 year to complete. So I'll be working intimately with Mr. Main to make sure that we get we do the things that we said we were going to do in the grant. You'll notice on your agenda that there's a number of grants to change the authorized representative for, so that we'll be addressing this later on this agenda. I understand that we'll be working together so that if the town is involved in these types of funding moving forward, we'll have a direct line to everyone.
Yeah, and one clarification, I think maybe I misheard, but the mitigation enhancement fund should be for a 3-year timeline. That is what my communications with the grant provider have said. So we definitely need to
Okay.
communicate if that's different than what's in.
Yeah, the award letter is showing a 12-month after the grant payment is issued. So.
We will need to clarify.
Get an extension on that. Have you talked to the school district since the last time you were here?
Not since the last time. At one point, pretty recently, I did send Rob Scott just kind of a general update of where we were with the ARM fund and all of that. I don't remember if it was between the last meeting and now.
Okay,
Anything else from the board?
thanks. No, I don't have anything.
Rob?
Thanks, Sam, that's a nice summary. When I see contracts on the River Commission, permits, one of the things I wonder about is Conservation Commission, as far as I know, is bound by the same purchasing policy as the rest of the town. That's pretty specific. And I see documents signed by you representing the town, and I don't see that you have been delegated that authority by the town. And also, the purchasing policy requires, depending on what level of expenditure, and what are the tranches, 1,000 up to 10,000, up to 20,000, and you would know better than that. But there are different escalating levels of approvals that have to be obtained, and I don't see any record in the select board minutes or in the LCC minutes showing that those approvals have been made. Now, when I was on the Conservation Commission and we hired a contractor for the natural resources inventory, we did an RFP, published ads, got 3 or 4 bids, took the best bid, and went forth from that. And that was all documented in the LCC minutes, et cetera. I don't see any of that anywhere, so I'm concerned that, I don't think your intentions are bad, but I think you're way out of line with respect to the town's purchasing policy. Wind and water, that's one guy up in Newport, was there bidding for that contract?
So my reading of the procurement policy is that with town manager approval, contracts under 5,000 can be approved without bids. With 3 estimates.
So did you get 3 estimates?
And that there is a degree of when there are a limited number of people who can provide estimates, that is considered, we don't have to go to Tennessee to get an estimate.
And the way you know there's a limited number is you advertise.
So I will say, I was unaware of Sean Sweeney, who I think is the only other person who would be qualified to do the work, servicing this area. And if I could go back, I would get a bid from Sean Sweeney again. It was also, to be completely honest, I don't think maybe anyone on the commission in 2022, when we encumbered the funds, was aware of the policy. That's just the reality.
I don't think you're doing anything malicious, but I think we're in a position where like the $18,000 that was spent, that's clearly above the $10,000. That's above the town manager's discretion to grant, and so.
Yeah, I can speak directly on that one too.
And I also have a question, I guess, for the select board. When Sam finds somebody like Connecticut River not Joint Commission, but the Connecticut River Conservancy, who has money and says, we'll spend some of our money on your project, does our bidding criteria apply at all? or not, or, I mean, if we want to
That'd be
go
an
out
in-kind
and
donation.
accept money from anywhere,
That'd be an in-kind donation, it doesn't pass through us.
well, but
So
we
it'd
have
be
to,
in-kind to the
we have to
project.
accept money under any circumstance. Get a grant, we have to vote to accept it. Unanticipated funds, would that not be?
We're not getting
We're
any
not-
funds.
It's not coming in.
It'd be like if Alan's trying to help the trails, and he goes out and he does something to help trails, there's no money passing through, he's helping trails. They're helping us without the money passing through our books. There's nothing to approve,
Well, they're a contract, okay.
right?
I'm not saying
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
We have
not
not
saying
signed
I
a
know,
contract.
but this
Yeah.
project is full of, like, monies from other places that are being
It's in kind.
used to
It'd
pay
be like a match.
people who are doing work for a
Yeah.
Lancaster project.
Yeah.
I just
Think of it
easy.
like a match.
Huh?
Think of it as that they could be like considered a match.
So Connecticut River
For the
Conservancy would view this as a Connecticut River Conservancy project as well. It's not, you know, it's not a Lancaster project that they're contributing to. They're doing invasive treatment because they like to do invasive treatment. And we have not hired them as a contractor into it.
No,
So it's
that's,
just-
but they have funded you.
They have funded
The
work
project.
done at the,
They've done some work at the project.
I guess I'm not trying to
That's
say
fair.
one way or the
That
other. I
will.
think it's an area that needs to be clarified when the amounts of money that we're talking about are passing through here. And,
Would you like
you know,
to
the
say?
$18,000 that was spent out of, is it the Moose Fund, were there bids for that? And that was dispersed from Lancaster funds. Were there bids for the contractors? Who awarded the contract? Who approved it?
Yeah, I want to address this before we have like a circular kind of conversation. So what's transpired from the Connecticut Commission or whoever is that they have a similar goal to our goal for this project, and they have funded that thing on their own. We haven't signed anything. The only two things that we are obligated on is the New Hampshire Moose Plate Grant and the Upper Connecticut River MEF. That's from New Hampshire Charitable Foundation. So those are the two things that we have signed off and that the select board has acted on to be accepted for as unanticipated monies. Sam has done the work to reach out to solicit bids as far as he knows and as far as his understanding of the policy. Moving forward, he's going to have a direct line of communication with someone in the seat who will, bring information around to the board. But, from what we've seen, there's 19,000, 22,000, so on and so forth, from a number of different providers. It hasn't been one person that's received this $20,000,
Right.
so again,
And I know that the select board looks at the check manifest, right, and approves the payment, so it's not by it, right? That's a balance, a check and a balance in the system. Again, I'm not trying to make trouble here, but it looked like a lot of stuff isn't documented that the policies say should be documented. And I'll also comment that Sam is right, the Conservation Commission has a special status because you have funds at your disposal, the Conservation Fund, that the Select Board has no jurisdiction over. That's strictly maybe you didn't know that, but if there are restricted purposes you can use it for, but the Select Board can't reallocate those funds, those are strictly yours. So there is an interesting sort of a financial arrangement. I just started seeing a lot of contracts, signed by you, and I think that Ben Olson was the authorized signer, so we need to get it updated if it's the desire of the select board, so that you're not in hot water and no one else.
I'm happy to give a little bit more context on that $18,000 line item if you want. But, I guess I was just gonna say, on the $18,000 one, that specifically, I did request bids from two organizations. One of them had no crew time, couldn't get it done.
You were able to
And-
document those
Yeah,
responses.
I've got that document. And if you know any other organizations in the area that plant trees, please let me know. I have a lot of work for them.
There's a lot of trees.
And it also, I will say, it started,
Lucy.
I really expected that to be a under $10,000 thing, and then, so I expected tree planting to be under $10,000, and then the actual trees themselves will also be under $10,000. This organization was able to group them together, and wasn't gonna say no to that, especially since they were the only ones who could do the planting. And they were buying them from the same place I would have bought the only native tree supply, that we can get them from. So, absolutely, 18K should have gone to the select board. I know that now. But to ease your mind, I guess, I did get bids from the only two organizations.
Well, I know that, but you do professionally. And you can always go to your select board representative, ask for clarifications of that, because that's what he does, is go back and forth between you and the select board. That's what the rest. There's your resource.
Anything else, Sam? Any questions from the board for Sam? At this
Thank
time,
you, Sam, for all you're doing.
Thank you.
It's an exciting project.
No public hearings tonight. So we will review the minutes from October 7th, the regular and the non-public, and then the October 9th.
Mr. Chair, I just have a comment to make. Out of the October 7th, 2024 minutes, they're written correctly, however, the incorrect RSA was quoted. It should be 91A3J, consideration of confidential information.
So I'll make a motion to accept the October 7th minutes with the edit that Jessica just said?
Well, it's not an edit.
Oh, it's not an edit. Okay, I will accept the minutes as written.
I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second to accept the minutes from the October 7th regular meeting. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Non-public?
May I ask what the specific reason was for non-public?
She just stated it.
What's J?
Confidential information.
Confidential information.
Confidential information?
The error,
About personnel, contracts, bids? That's a little broad. I think you have to be a little more specific about
would you
that.
look up that? Would
I
you
mean,
look that up? I don't
if
think we
it
have
couldn't
to
be,
more specific.
is it somebody's reputation that you're being
That was
confidential?
confidential
Confidential.
information. That's really what it was. It's
It'll be
confidential.
available April 1st, 2025, if you're interested.
Yep.
Oh, I'm not sure that it's qualified as non-public now, which is why I'm
Well-
asking. And I'm asking for specifics about.
The specifics
The
is
answer-
it's confidential
I
information.
asked that question at the board when you went into the non-public, and you said contracts was the excuse. Well, that excuse is not in the book. It's not a legitimate excuse to go into non-public session.
The only contract.
We're not going to continue to discuss this. It's right. We have the right to go into non-public for confidential information. That is included in 91A.
I'm going to challenge it.
32J.
Well,
Look
that's
up letter
okay.
J. It's okay.
Any more discussion from the board? Or do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the non-public meeting minutes as presented.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second to accept the October 7th non-public meeting. Any further discussion from the board? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then the October 9th, 2024 public meeting.
Alex, I make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second to accept the minutes from the October 9th public meeting. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the ayes have it. We have the New Hampshire State General Election warrant.
Yes, coming your way is the warrant for the state of New Hampshire. Tuesday, the 5th day of November 2024. Polls will be open between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. at 25 Main Street in Lancaster.
Oh.
Election.
MS 535.
Yep, this is governing body certification for the DRA's MS 535.
It's not at the end.
Yeah, print.
Excuse me, the 535 is showing the appropriations versus what was actually spent for the last year. So it's budget, but it's not this year's budget, last year.
Correct.
And then we have 3 abatements.
Yep, the first abatement is at 220 Rogers Campground Road for $173.
Take it these are campers?
Yes, that were registered and submitted their
Yep.
paperwork showing that they were registered so that we could abate it. Tax totals.
The second is for 54 Mountain Lake Campground for $121. The third is for 22 Rogers Campground Road for $231.
Move on to new business with the budget schedule.
So before you is the proposed budget schedule for Tuesday, November 12th, 2024, with town department heads and the select board. The goal of this is to have our first budget committee meeting for the 2025 budget on December 3rd.
Do you guys want a second meeting? After meeting with department heads, or you good with just, I think we've only had one meeting in the past, but do you want us, we take a lot of information in, we have 20 minutes in and out, and not really a lot of time to really digest the information.
We have scheduled a second meeting. There is some time in there to get a second meeting
If we want to do it at the time.
if we want to do it.
Okay.
There is we could schedule a work session for November 18th, which would be just less than a week after this.
Oh, the following Monday.
Yes.
I would like a few minutes. I know I remember feeling like it's very rushed and you don't really have time to think. So a second meeting, whether we book it now or we book it later.
Yeah.
I want to get it on the record for have something before the first budget committee.
Sure.
Okay. Thanks.
So we will have a work session then.
But are we having a work session the beginning of November too?
The 4th.
The 4th. So we could do a second work session. Oh, well, are you going
We'll see.
to? Yeah. I like it. Yeah. Okay. So.
That's pretty close to number 2, but.
Yeah, no kidding. November 18th works, so maybe a second work session. Okay.
Yeah.
On the 18th?
Yeah, maybe.
And then any other business to cover? Move on to old business, and the first item up is water and sewer rate change.
I would like to make a motion.
Okay?
I make a motion to change the water rate from $3.75 per thousand up to 1 million gallons to $6.50 per thousand up to 1 million gallons. And from 30 cents per thousand over 1 million gallons to 50 cents per thousand over 1 million gallons.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board? I think we pretty well hashed this over.
We have.
This is
last few months.
effective the April reading,
This, oh, yes, this will be effective April.
the April 2025 reading.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, with that, no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, the ayes have it. And we'll move on to the sewer rate.
I would like to make a motion. Make this motion to change the sewer rate from $3.45 per thousand gallons to $6.50 per thousand,
Be effective April 2025.
Starting April.
April 25. Yeah.
Do I have a second?
I second. Yeah.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. And we have a lead service line update.
Thank you very much. So I know we spoke about this the last select board meeting, but I wanted to again bring it to your attention because there's some action items and some things that have gone by. So the federal lead and copper rule revisions and the proposed lead and copper rule improvements require public water systems to inventory all lead service lines and galvanized requiring replacement downstream of lead by October 16th. So we've hit that milestone. We've sent our inventory along to the state. Notification will be made to the lead service line unknowns, that's 1,042 notifications, or to those with galvanized pipes, that's 68 notifications, with notice in the October bill, which is headed out this week. There's an administrative portion of the notification aspect, both in notifying the residents and mailers, answering questions that we anticipate will be coming in. If someone receives a notice, they can email a photo of their service line in their basement to info@lancasternh.org. Alternatively, if someone doesn't have the internet, they can contact the water department for assistance. If individuals are concerned about lead in their drinking water, they can ask for it to be tested, no cost to them. There will be sampling bottles in the town hall, which residents can follow the instructions and return their sample to the sample receiving box, which will be stationed near the water department entry door on Mechanic Street. The town's website has been updated with a tab for water and wastewater for individuals to learn more. And a standing monthly meeting with the town's consultants, Hazen and Sawyer, is on Wednesday afternoon.
Okay.
Any questions on that?
Thanks,
And we will move on to storm update. Everyone's favorite subject.
Well, storm update, the Central Asphalt Paving won the paving bid and they will be out on the roads after the 30th. 3 damaged culverts were replaced under emergency authorization, so road could be rebuilt to be passable. but we did have to submit for about a dozen culvert permits. They were approved by DES under their culvert repair replacement statutory permit by notification RSA 482A, and work has started this week by the Highway Department to replace them. Admittedly, I was very, I bit off more than I could chew and thought I could submit our first project, but things have gotten away from me. We do have our full measure and report from them, so we'll be checking tonnage and the amounts that are allowable to for each of the roads. So we're working on the roads, crews are out there, and I promise I'll take action on my stuff very soon.
Any questions from the board?
No, thank you.
Any questions? Okay.
I need to do the,
And then,
all these change authorizations.
yep, skipped over there. We need to change the authorized representative for previously accepted grants. These are grants that had come in and Ben was authorized to sign for, or somebody was authorized to sign for. And the first one is the Moose Plate Grant in the amount of $30,000 that we accepted on February 20th, 2024.
Okay. And I might start by saying thank you, Charity, for writing these motions up so we get them correctly. Okay. I make a motion to change the authorized representative of the Moose Plate Grant in the amount of $30,000 that was accepted at the February 20, 2024 Select Board meeting from former Town Manager Benjamin Gagens Olson to Town Manager Jessica Sear, and authorize her to sign any and all paperwork.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of making that change signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. No votes, so the ayes have it. And then we have to change the signatory on the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant from the National Park Service in the amount of $180,000.
I make a motion to change the authorized representative of the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant from the National Park Service in the amount of $180,000 that was accepted at the October 18th, 2021 Select Board meeting from former Town Manager Benjamin Gagens Olson to Town Manager Jessica Sear, and authorize her to sign any and all paperwork.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion from the board? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Ayes have it. And we have a third one from the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation Upper Connecticut River Mitigation Enhancement Fund in the amount of $26,320 that we accepted on May 20th, 2024.
Okay. I make a motion to accept the grant from the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation Upper Connecticut River Mitigation Enhancement Fund in the amount of $26,320, which was previously accepted in the amount of $22,320 at the May 20, 2024 Select Board meeting, and authorize Town Manager Jessica Sear to sign any and all paperwork associated with the grant.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. And that takes care of those. We will,
Did that include the OHS one? Is it the top one from,
No, that was, didn't you say that one, that one didn't need to be this
It's already
time
done?
around?
Alright.
Yeah. Sorry, I changed it after that.
move on. Shane, you have anything for a report?
I have nothing at this time.
KJ?
I see in our packets, we have information about the small claims filing. Are you talking about that in the town manager's report?
Again?
That would be great. Then that's my report. I just want to make sure that got handled.
And I have nothing, so we will move on to the town manager's report.
Okey-doke, thank you very much. Colonel Town, Eli sends his regards. He's at a soccer game at Apthorpe tonight. They have basketball signups and football signups open now. They are having their Halloween carnival on Friday the 25th from 5:30 to 7:30, and next Monday the 28th, the kids will be painting business windows. So they're very excited. They are headed to the Rotary tomorrow to do a presentation regarding the current status of our pool. Selectman Beatty, Chief Flynn, Highway Director Brown, and I participated in a web EOC training with Homeland Security and Emergency Management staff on October 9th. I provided an overview of the water and wastewater infrastructure to the Budget Committee public routine quarterly meeting on October 15th. We are working towards an infographic or other presentation for the public to better understand how the facilities operate. And just as a note, October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and to me, this means being intentional for the information we're placing in the public. There's opportunities for us to do some training with state and federal agencies. We want to provide good information, but we don't want to provide information that bad actors could take advantage of. My 2 cents. An organization named Next Steps Community Services has purchased 75 Portland Street, and they have purchased another property out east as well. They provide therapeutic residential services to adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities, mental health conditions, and other behavioral needs. 75 Portland Street will be housing 3 individuals and will be providing full-time care 24/7. Legally, they act under the Department of Health and Human Services, Community Living Facilities, New Hampshire RSA, Section 126A20. The DHH Commissioner shall be responsible for prior approval of all individual resident placements and shall adopt rules relative to monitoring the care, treatment, and provided to all residents of community living facilities. Approval by the Commissioner of an individual for placement in a community living facility shall be based on a finding by that Commissioner that the community facility is the least restrictive environment appropriate to the needs of the individuals. There are several legal cases such as Region 10, Client Management Incorporated versus the Town of Hampstead, Northern New Hampshire Mental Health Housing Incorporated versus the Town of Conway, and Beckett Academy versus the Town of Madison. These cases all show that local zoning does not have the authority to impose conditions for community living facilities, and that any effort to impose conditions on the use of the program could violate state and federal anti-discrimination laws. So it's important to note that these people are going to be receiving care 24/7. I believe there'll be individuals that are older, and we've been reaching out to this organization to do some sort of public awareness type with the neighbors and the abutters and so on and so forth. There is, something came to my desk about a low carbon transportation materials program, which is some funding which would not require matching funds, but I want to make sure that you all would be interested in this type of thing before I go spending any time. Yeah.
Yeah, you could pursue it.
Okay,
Look at it.
okay, it's,
Can look at it.
See what it's
I'm
about.
going to attend a Zoom meeting, but
Yeah.
it's my time, and I don't want to go down the path that you guys don't want to. Regarding the small claims court, which is mentioned in information, in New Hampshire, disputes of less than 10,000 and not involving any real estate can be resolved in small claims court. You must file a statement about your claim called a complaint, which includes the amount in dispute and the defendant's name and address. An application fee, which runs $90 for amounts of $5,000 or less, must accompany the claim. The clerk will mail a notice of the claim to the defendant, directing the defendant to respond to the complaint within 30 days and requesting a hearing if necessary. The hearing is scheduled at least 14 days after the defendant responds to the complaint. And then, as a complaining party, you must make certain that you appear in court and that there is a return receipt showing that the defendant received the notice at least 14 days prior to the hearing. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because if you would like, if the town wants to spend the town time to do this, it's relatively inexpensive to do so. However, there's an administrative or there's a cost of time that's associated with this. You may ask, well, what about our prosecutor? Our prosecutor is basically kind of flags us off from small claims court because it's very difficult to actually, if you're awarded money, to actually receive the monies. But that's up to you all, whether or not I should spend
Okay,
these times.
why can't she work on it? I'm sorry. One more time.
Well, I'm just saying that it's likely going to fall to town staff time.
Did she refuse to do it?
Yes.
Thank you for clearing that up. And she is an employee of the town of Lancaster?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it kind of goes along with the last time that we asked an attorney about this.
Well, we asked an attorney about using attorney time, and that was going to be expensive. This is $90, and we have a prosecutor who works for the police department.
Correct.
So I would think that that prosecutor could at least walk through the paperwork that goes through it and could present at a hearing, should it get to a hearing, and that it's worth $90 for the taxpayers to know that we have taken this
And then
forward. I'm very concerned that an employee of the town has refused this idea, and I don't know what to do with that.
I kind of think she might be thinking it falls outside of her purview. She's there to prosecute crimes, not for the police department, not necessarily do small claims, because if she does this one, then we have another one. Is she going to be called on to do that one? And then the last statement, which she made, which I know from owning a business and using small claims, you can get the judgment, but getting payment, yeah, it doesn't happen very often.
There's no
The
reason not to
residents of
go for it.
Lancaster.
Well, yes, it is a reason not to do it.
The residents of Lancaster have made an appropriate request that we do this.
There
Whether
is-
getting the judgment is, yes.
There is some
We may not get paid,
residents
but
that
we
have
still,
done it.
we still make the steps to do the
There are
right
some
thing for the
residents that have
people.
done it, and I am still gonna stand by. I don't agree with throwing good money after bad. That's just how I look at it. There's no guarantee that you're going to get the judgment. Because whether he should have been here or not, as we all know what we're talking about, he was here, he did do the work.
He wasn't authorized to do the work, so he shouldn't have been
And he was
paid.
convicted at the
But we
state
let,
level.
Rob, you know you're out of order.
And we looked at this, and we, like I said, we did have an attorney look at it, and part of that was the probability of winning the case. And whether you use attorney or you use Jessica's time or something, that's costing the town money.
I make a motion that Jessica Sear move forward with small claims filing against Troy Murner.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I've got a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you, Jessica, in advance for what you're going to do.
That's it for me.
That's it. All right. We will move into public comments. Alan had his hand up first.
I want to say that the information booth looks good, there's a new roof on it. I don't know if you're aware, I made a complaint earlier this summer that thing was looking shoddy, and it looks good. The other thing is, I want to ask, has anybody figured out whether the town is liable for the streetlight repairs or the Eversource?
I think we did look into that, and it's still the same way it always was before the lights were replaced. Eversource is,
I don't think we've seen a bill.
Eversource is it, correct?
what's that?
Eversource is responsible for maintenance.
That's how I understood it. Now, they're pretty
If
slowly.
Sampson understood it, the town was going to be responsible when they bought the LED lights, when the Eversource gave them LED lights. Dennis Patno was involved in the program, and he was under the impression that the town was responsible for the Ben Olson hired an electrician to fix this light out front here, because the handheld helper was broken. He paid the electrician through the town funds. If that was Eversource's job, then we ought to get reimbursed. And we had you know, the one we had up at the vets up there in North Main Street, it's on for 4 years. Well, that got fixed. Apparently, they didn't get built, so maybe that does indicate the Eversource is going to do it. But it'd be nice to know concretely whether or not Eversource is responsible or the town is responsible. There's a light over by sheriff's office, street light, that should be removed and taken somewhere where it's better used, where we get a dark area in town. We put on some street lights and we put on some hoity-toity lights to look nice in the parking lot. Well, now we duplicated the street light, and that street light, and Dennis was very much aware of this, and I think probably it was. That light was supposed to come out of there and go somewhere it would be. They dropped the ball. There's one out by Northwood Manufacturing that never got changed from the orange light to LED because the contractor couldn't reach it with his truck. Eversource can reach it. That should be changed. If not, eliminated altogether. There's no sidewalk out there. There's no intersection out there. It never should have been there to begin with. If we have a dark spot in town, it should be moved to it. Someone's got to identify the dark spots in town and where lights. This used to be done with public service and the town manager. We talked once, you said, well, we never asked the police to report these lights that are out. Did we do that? The police always did. They're our ambassadors out there at night. It is a safety issue, and they're responsible for safety. They should be the ones. It shouldn't be Alan Savage saying, hey, get a light out here, get a light out here. Does anybody else look at the air or see any dark lights? And it's not that hard to do. We've got one right now. It's number 2BL6. It's on the bridge. It's down Riverside towards Gammon's drugstore. Okay, and public service has a lot, Eversource has a number of 2BL6. That's been out for 6 months. Am I the only one who can see this? Am I the only one who can see the roof falling off from the information booth? But crying out loud, what, you know? I'd be glad to work with Jeff Score or with anyone as far as the streetlight repositioning and that. You got that, I go well all night long looking for streetlights out. If I'm out early enough in the morning, I see them out. Tonight, I'll see that light out on the bridge. The rest of you'll drive by it and not say a thing. Hello? In the police act thing, can I get you guys to agree to ask the police chief to ask them to report those lights out?
We can definitely ask them. If they see anything that's out, they report it.
Yep.
So like I say, that one out by Northwood Manufacturing, there's no sidewalk out there. There's no intersections. The nearest intersection is Mary Elizabeth Lane, and it's got a light. That light should be removed. It never should have been put in to begin with, because it's not in compact areas of town. There are dark areas on Summer Street and other places that should be lit. Somebody's got to look at it. And you shouldn't duplicate the town parking lot. You know, that was done when Linda wanted to put those lights up because they look cool. Well, they do. You don't put lights up and duplicate and then not take the, it was discussed. Dennis said that someone's in the works of taking that light out.
All right. Appreciate the input.
Yep.
Rob?
I had some thoughts about the water billing. There's only one account that uses over 1 million gallons a month. And so when you look at, so they pay the regular rate on the first million, which, is it 375 or 350? Can't remember.
It's 375.
375, so they pay $3,750 for the first million. And then they pay $3,200 for the next 6.5 million gallons. So that means that the other users are subsidizing them pretty heavily. And so I wondered if you would give a thought to maybe charging more over 1 million gallons. Now, I understand that account has said, well, if we charge more, I can't afford it and I'd have to go away. Well, that would take about $7,000 out of $249,000 that's collected for water bills. So if they went away, it would not hurt the other users very much. In other words, $249,000 was billed the last 6 months. If you didn't include that extra 6 million gallons, it would be $245,000. So losing that account wouldn't be too much of a punishment for the budget and the collections. So that's a pretty big subsidy for that one user. For instance, the last billing was $7,400,000, and so I just want to make that comment. I think there's room to charge more over 1 million gallons.
The
And
plan is originally this, that if the rates go up again, that rate over $1 million gallons will go up again. But yes, he uses a lot of water. He's also a huge employee in town.
huh?
He's also a huge employee in town.
12 people according to the federal firemen filings.
Well,
I mean, as opposed to 350 up at weeks. I mean, I'm not trying to be a wise guy, I'm just putting this in perspective. It seems like, I understand if that's a tough industry because they don't have control, they can't raise their prices and stuff. And they have an alternative, which would be drilling their own wells. But right now, they're getting a heck of a subsidy from everybody else. And that's just one way of thinking about it. So I'd like to suggest that next time we talk about rates, we think about something like that. And the other approach is to have tranches of rates. You know, the people that use less than 3,000 a month, people that use less than 6,000, less than 12, and less than 20. There are 52 users, not including those who use nothing, who use less than 3,000. There are 250 users, more or less, that use 6,000. And then there's only one or two, well, there are 46 users that use more than 20,000 gallons a month. So if you make, what you'd have to do would take those tiers and then figure out what you would charge for each tier to meet your budget, which is the whole goal. And so I'm just suggesting that as a way to make it easier on the small users, because we've all heard lots of talk about that. So those are my thoughts on the water right now. And I also was wondering, Jessica, you've been making the Colonel Town report. Colonel Town used to make the report themselves. And you know, we hired 2 managers there because there would be conflicts at some times in which one manager had to be away at a game or something. So I'm wondering why the burden has been shifted to you and why Eli doesn't come and make his report. And if he can't make it, why his wife, who is also salaried by the town for that reason, doesn't come and make the report.
Yeah, I can follow up with them. I know it's a very busy season. They're also down a body. We haven't backfilled Al's position at this point, so they're running pretty much double duty.
I mean, every other department has to come and make their report.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Eli doesn't like to, we know that, but who does? But just was curious as to why he no longer made this report.
okay. Anything else?
Yeah, are we advertising for an additional water department personnel?
I believe there's been an open position
Since
Yeah.
April?
April, I think.
since April.
Since April. So you determined in April to add an additional position to the water department?
We're not in an additional.
Oh, you lost it.
Yes.
Somebody way back then.
I wasn't aware of it. So, well, how many are in the water department? 3 now?
3 right now.
3.
Looking for
3 and
now.
you're looking for 4.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware that there was 4 before April.
Well, there's days it's hard to tell who's working for where because the departments work very well together.
Well, they should.
Team,
They should.
good team.
You'll gain nothing. You gain nothing by saying water department and sewer over here and highway over here. They've got to work together.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with that. And I've seen it in Eversource, public service, the old public service. They have different divisions and then they fight. And they don't help each other. It's bullshit.
Yep.
They're all paid by the taxpayer and they do a good job working together as far as I can see. And I can remember drowning, grabbing the town grader and going up Great Beach Road, and worked on the water, because he wanted a smooth road. Nothing wrong with that.
Anything else? Anything? Anything from the board? Seeing none, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor of adjourning, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Yeah, I have it.
The ayes have it.
We're going out for the handicap grade. Huh? I won't walk the handicap grade, because we're going out.